another episode of Future Sight, and it's all of us for once again. I'm Dan, joined by Evan and Ben, and we're talking about Warmachine. We're going to finally talk about the Welsh Masters lists. So thanks for joining us. If you're watching us on Twitch, don't forget you can subscribe. Use a Prime Twitch subscription for free if you want to. Get rid of the adverts. If you're watching this back on YouTube, I appreciate likes and stuff. And if you want to support the channel, you can follow the links in the show notes and use the Wayland affiliate link if you want to get Warmachine toys cheaper than probably anywhere else. And they're the distributor, so pretty sure they're the best bet to get stuff. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, we did a show last week. And I fucked it up, so we lost like all of my audio for the first hour, and I couldn't face editing that. Quite frankly,
that's perfectly reasonable.
So yeah,
I taught everyone how to play rep properly, and now that message is lost.
Yeah. Well, you say that,
yes.
But you know, the week before we had, I think, the best in faction from the Welsh for well, no, love it. So everyone asked,
we were retained on that matters.
Yeah. Everyone asked for so long. What are we going to do? Are we going to see the lists from the Welsh Masters? So while I was streaming, I was streaming and playing the same event, so it was pretty hard for me to get lists as well. I tried to do what I could for my tables at least, but Martin said he'd try and put the lists up afterwards, but I'm not sure if he managed it. Can you guys see? I don't think I saw it come up, but luckily I managed to just have most of them already on my phone, and I've prodded a few
fantastic
to get the rest.
Is there any chance you can throw them into the chat?
No.
No. Okay, never mind.
No,
because easy asked and answered.
Because they're pictures. Like most of them are in picture format, where I've literally just taken pictures of
right.
the playlist. So if you watch this back on YouTube, then I will maybe put like a link, or I'll put a post up on the Facebook group on the Facebook page with like all the lists there. Maybe I'll link it in some form, but not right now. Not right now.
Yeah,
we'll talk through them. So obviously it was like the first big event for probably the biggest event since COVID started, right? If you look at single player Masters, because like nearly 100 players, I think that's bigger than any of the American cons have got up to, and certainly the European cons.
I'm not sure what the American cons have got up to, but definitely the largest the UK has seen since.
Definitely bigger than any of the American cons for single player. Like numbers for like
right.
a Masters sort of thing, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, we got a good little spread. So first of all, if we dive into the stats first, because it's the easy thing to look at. So if you want to look yourself,
right,
you can go on just do a search.
This is on Tiebreak
Welsh Masters, and you'll be able to see the stats, and it's just to have a quick snapshot of how the factions are doing. Obviously, some of them. We had a good spread of factions, but some of them towards the lower end obviously are going to be a little bit skewed by the fact that there's only like one or two players playing that faction, so it's hard to really, hard to glean a lot out of it. But it is what it is. So let's start. So Circle are the first one. So this is just based on player numbers. In fact, we'll do it player numbers and then in reverse. So there were 12 Circle players. In the end, so 82 games were played, 42 games were won, so a 51.2% win ratio, and like that includes a mirror match, I guess. 41%.
51%.
51.
That's not
51.2.
Oh, 51.
51.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say fair and balanced better than that.
Yeah, so like for I think for like reference, like if anyone that's watching or listening has seen some of the horrendous graphs coming out of like 40k like over the last month, it's like it's something like the Harlequins, the Tyranids, and I think there was another faction, it might be the Tau, are all like between 70 and 60% win rates, and then and then like the next bracket down is like a selection in between 40 and 50, and everyone else is below. It's like bare. So obviously that sweet spot that you're looking for to show game balance is around 50%. So give or take. So
Anything between 40 and 60 is probably fine.
yeah, I think.
I mean,
you have to take into consideration
the
skills and
the more players you have in a faction, the closer it should be to 50.
Of course,
Like,
yeah.
you can't expect 50 if you've got one player. Like, that's going to be that one player's skill. That's going to be anecdotal.
yeah, and obviously
but like
stronger lists, factions.
Circle's the most represented faction. You'd expect it to be closer to 50.
Yeah, but I think player choice has something to do with it as well. So when there's stuff that looks particularly competitive, the competitive players are more likely to get on it. At which point
they do gravitate towards it.
You'll see, for instance, more players playing Kruger than they are playing Nemo 3. Yeah,
this is true.
Yeah, so it's but yeah, 51.2. Like, so it's just a very very healthy spot for what I think
for Circle.
People, I think most people accept it, and one of the best factions, if not the best faction in the game. So not a bad spot.
Absolutely,
not a bad starting spot. Next is Legion. So Legion of Everbright are 11 players and a 51.9%. So not much in it.
Yeah.
77 games played, 40 wins. So like these really are in like this like sweet spot of like they're not ridiculously overtuned. Otherwise, the figures would show differently, right? Yeah, we've got like nearly 100 players.
Pretty much.
Nearly 100 players, 7 rounds. What's that? A lot of games. Someone has got me to do the maths at home, but yeah, that's like it's a good sample size to try and glean at least what's in the UK and a bit of Europe, because we did have some people coming across from mainland Europe as well.
We had a couple of Belgians.
Yeah, we had Belgians, we had Danish, and then obviously we've got a few.
Did we have a Dane? I didn't know that.
Gail came out for tea with us. In fact, yeah. And
fantastic!
Ben played, playing Karchev, and what was his something? Not Karchev. Karchev 2 in Cador and something else. Can you remember what his off list was?
Absolutely no idea what his off list was.
Just came to ruin people with Cador.
That's perfectly fair.
Exactly. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Plus, it's easy to pack, right? Just fucking pack your your 7 jacks, and you probably don't even bother packing your second list.
7 jacks and 4 solos, and you're done.
Easy, right? Easy. Just the only thing is be sad about the Death Archon's wings. Just snap them off. Anyway, next is Troll Blitz. So 7 players, and we've got 59.2%.
Yeah, this is our first big outlier.
Here we see our first spike, really.
Yeah. And I think looking at the results and looking at how the games went, I think I feel it's indicative of a certain list or two, where if you couldn't deal with it, you couldn't deal with it. But
there's enough variety to make a good pairing with the certain list, and the certain list is scary.
Yeah. But saying that, Legion have got pretty scary lists. You've got to think about. Circle definitely have, and we'll come on to Cador next. So maybe it's just like
Legion are the one faction I feel like didn't really represent the pain that they could represent at this tournament.
Yeah, maybe, but like
I didn't see the kind of the fear of Lilith 4 emerging from this that I expected I would.
Yeah.
Because she's overrated. We've been through
it's possible as well.
I called it before the event. I didn't think there would be as many Lilith 4s as people would guess. But one of the things with trolls, and I think this is something that troll players have forever been troll players. It's not a faction that has like many faction hoppers. So like everyone I know, like in any UK troll player I know, have been playing trolls since they started the game. Like, I don't know anyone who's jumped onto trolls.
And they've been playing trolls when they were terrible for the longest time, bless them. So they've earned their time in the sun.
They've got all they've got the entire army. They've got, everyone painted. They know their faction inside out. They know what's good. They've gone through the rough patch where everything was pretty bad. And now they're coming into the sun and they're like, oh, well, I've got all these guys. I've played like 100 games with this caster. Now he's just a bit better. Or I've played 100 games with this caster.
I always used to feel so sorry for Trollblood and Cador players when I was playing in Mark II. I was as a Crix player because everything was built to try to kill Crix, and it was still a very hard uphill game. But everything that killed Crix absolutely squashed Cador and Trollbloods.
Yeah, that's a little bit rough. And evening, guys, in the chat. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, so I think we're a tribute to trolls too. There's a bunch of good players, like in the top 10. We'll find out in a minute. There are a bunch of troll players, and just below it as well. And yeah, I think they're just like maybe showing a little bit more finesse in their list or brute force in their list, one of the two.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's that, and I think the other thing with trolls is, I think there's if you put aside any minion eventually doing stuff that they can do, because there are good options there, and there's really 3 troll-led lists that are sort of really dominating these trolls, and that's Cole Grimmer, who is, as always was, just a solid, good control stuff, great spells. Spells are such a good way to get around so many things in the game at the moment, offensive spells. There's a lot of shield guards, there's a lot of carapace in the game that spells just do not care about. So they've got her, who's a solid caster. They've got Gumbjorn 2, who is a hell of a gear check. If you are bringing non-blast immune infantry, single wound infantry, you lose that game. Or if you don't lose that
lose
game,
heavies to that feat, like easily.
You can, but yeah, exactly. It's a real gear check of a list. When that's paired with, which I think probably their main caster is, certainly looking through the top 10 list, I think they all had him, which is Madrak 3.
Yeah.
And Madrak 3
that's the scale, Charles.
So strong because he's doing something that hasn't been seen in Warmachine for a very, very long time, is this hard dude spam of a list. And for a lot of factions, the way they would answer dude spam is with other dude spam. So you would just say, okay, you're Creel warriors, there's a lot of them, they've got 4 up tough, but they only threaten 3 inches in melee or something god awful like that. I'm going to counter that with, I'm coming from a rep player, a load of Houseguard Halberdiers who threat much further, will kill enough of them, which is great in theory, but the strength of trolls at the moment is that as a rep player, you can't drop those Houseguard Halberdiers into when Gunny 2's in the pair, or really when Cole Grimmer's in the pair. It's that gear checklist of Madrak plus those 2 other lists that are very good.
They're asking some very hard list chickens.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a real strength for them at the moment, and it's why they're at that sort of 60% level in terms of wins.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think they're a problem though.
I don't think they're bad for the game at all. I think they're in a very interesting spot, and good luck to them. We'll come to another faction where I don't say that, but.
So I've adjusted our volumes. I've adjusted our volumes a bit as the guys in chat saying everyone was super loud, and I'm as loud as I can get. So I can turn Evan down and Ben down a bit, but I can't turn myself up anymore. But hopefully,
sure.
Sorry, let us know chat how it's sounding. So that was trolls. Let's look at the next one. So next door is Cador. So like we said, so this was kind of again though a faction that we thought would have like a bit more of a swing. So 7 players. 49 games played, 20-1. So 44.9% win rate.
I saw a number of players, and I played into one, that were old or returning players who never had new toys. And if you were playing with old toys, Cador is a bit behind. I think that gives us a lot of what happened here. Yeah, props. And that, obviously, there's a lot of good stuff to draw you back, but you might not be able to get everything you want to put together a list or be ready to put together like a competitive list. You might be like, I'm just going to feel the ground a bit and see if I how deep I want to come back into the game. So I think that's a valid point. And
Cador
go on, Ben.
2 players who went positive in the tournament. Obviously Rob, who
one of which went obviously 7-0.
Yeah. And then Gil, who I played the Danish player that we mentioned previously, he went 4-3.
Yeah.
Both having Karchev as part of their pair. Now I don't know. Beyond that, you're getting down. There's a couple on 3 and 4. There's couple on 2 and 5.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they had Karchev in that pair or not.
I know a lot of the. I know a lot of the players I've talked to that played into some of the other Karchev players or some of the other Cador players were like, where these guys are quite new. So I think there's a newer guy from Warsaw who's like only playing the game a few months, like sort of as lockdown ended. So he's got a Karchev list, but obviously he's gonna get caught out by a bunch of plays or a bunch of things he's not going to realise. So I think that's I think that you've hit the nail on the head, that they've got the couple of outliers which are the really good players, experienced players, but Cador isn't really super popular in the UK at the moment.
I think that stat doesn't represent the strength of the faction, because when we're looking at the top end, obviously Karchev, unlike the Madi 3 list, that is not good for the game. That is a brutal gear check. That is a bit much of a gear check to then have a second list around.
Yeah, maybe. It is rough, for sure. So, next is Signar. So this is one of the dips. This is 7 players, 45 games, 15 wins. So a 33.3% win rate.
Yes.
And obviously like a lot of Signar players of old have jumped onto other factions. So probably the most experienced Signar players that were there were probably playing one of their other factions. And I know the Signar lists that I saw were very much people's choice lists rather than particularly people's strong lists. Does that make sense?
I think the most common caster I saw in Signar was Cray. I don't know what was going on.
Really? Wow.
He was everywhere.
Every Signar player loves Cray, but he's not.
He doesn't love you back.
He's never lit the world on fire.
doesn't do enough to love you back, apparently. But yeah, obviously, but
play Helga too. She's like Cray, but good.
Yeah, but obviously Signar.
Well, he basically has Signar try to play like Circle, but Signar Warjacks are not Circle War Beasts.
Yeah.
He gets the speed, he gets all of the hit and run tactics and the Reapers, and like he makes them feel like Signar Beasts, but they're not like Circle Beasts, but they just don't hit that hard.
Yeah. When the guys in chat, Andy's in chat saying Karchev 2 needs nerf, like maybe make the feat +3 speed instead of speed 6. But the problem is +3 speed.
Speed
makes
does
the
exactly the
Crix
same
go
thing.
further. No, the Crix Jacks go further because they're now speed 9.
No, you'd have to play.
Just swap and
play
take
lots
Slayer
of
spam.
the Slayer chassis.
Yeah, you take 9 Slayers at speed 9 doing combo strikes.
If you're playing 9 Slayers, that's fine because they can't tank a thing. Because even with locked horns, they're still Slayers. They'll fall apart. You're fine there.
Yeah, but when they're speed 9, you don't need to tank a lot. Is the problem? you then
Karchev is a simple fix. You change.
Take locked horns away.
No.
Very simple. Drop locked horns. Locked horns should never exist on a caster that can take Cador Warjacks. Really simple.
Fine, but if you don't want to even go that intense, change Skulls of Fate from capital F focus to lowercase f focus.
Oh, and just not push his control range up. Then.
Exactly, because that for me is the most frustrating thing about him, is that he can sit so far back and so safely, which for a hate-filled guy in a hate-filled robot sitting on the pillbox line doesn't feel right.
For me, that doesn't answer the biggest problem, which is just how hard a gear check it is, and making every bloody Cador Jack armor 22 before you do anything else is just hideous. Like, that gear check is too much. I don't think locked horns should ever exist on a
This is weird because me and Ben are sitting here as rep players, and you're sat there as a circle player where your average strength of your heavies is like 25 or something, right, in your lists.
Unless I'm building for it, like, I can't chew through that. Like most of my circle beasts, not without throwing like 5 fury and every tool I've got to kill 1 heavy, and then he retaliates and kills 3 of mine. Like, there's no ways I trade reasonably into that.
Yeah.
Even with circle heavies,
but I think
can't happen.
I think everyone worldwide is aware that Karchev needs a little bit of toning.
desperately needs a.
Well, everyone outside of Seattle, maybe. Maybe. You know, it is how it is,
yes.
right? So let's leave poor Karchev alone for a bit.
Let's stop beating on
we'll come back to him
Cador's
in a
time
minute.
in the sun.
So we said yes. So Signar a little bit
yes.
rough looking, but but there's new stuff coming, right? We've seen the spoilers. We've seen some sort of rules coming out and pictures for the new medium based
Storm Division.
Yeah, so
or whatever it's
Storm something, Storm dudes, more
It's a Storm.
dudes.
It's not Storm Division. It's Storm something new.
Storm Brigade.
Storm Brigade, and it's obviously then it's just the cavalry, not the cavalry, the chariots and the medium based infantry, as well as I think it's like a character jack as well. But they look pretty cool, so hopefully that might be something that gives Signar a little bit better.
I like the idea of more lightning focused stuff because Kruger's not prominent enough. Teach people for abandoning Kruger for Wormwood.
So
best in Signar was 41st.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Pretty rough going.
That's real low.
So Retribution is next. So this is us. 7 players, 49 games, 23 wins. So 46.9%. So it's like perfectly fine.
Okay.
It's not like
needs buffs. I think.
Yeah. Give us.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised at a sub 50. I really wanted to dodge Retribution. I was very happy I did.
So
they've got some really scary casters and lists out right now.
Scary casters, some scary lists, and some scary options. But also, you know what you're going to see, right? Because did you see anyone playing a Shadows list or a Dawn Guard list? And if they did, were they just hating life? Because
is Shadows the ones with mittens?
Yeah, no. That's Forges. Shadows is the Mage Hunters, who in today's meta just get annihilated.
Nobody was playing Shadows. I didn't see any Shadows.
Just erase the entire army in a turn. It's just depressing.
Yeah.
Between sprays, things that can just ignore, stealth, blast damage, mass blast damage, just annihilates the army. They're made of paper. It's really sad. And I think we're in a spot where we're a good faction, but we could definitely need some tweaks to some of the underloved themes to maybe make them a bit more appealing.
I think every faction could use that.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. So next is Crix with 6 players. So 42 games, 21 wins. So
bang on 50.
Bang on 50% win rate. Crix fair and perfectly balanced. Thanos is there, sitting over them.
I don't see the same thing there. I see 50% in the faction that has Karchev 2, and I see that as a cry for help.
How many Crix players do you see with Karchev?
Wout was playing Karchev.
Trolls.
So it wasn't Wout. Who was? Wout was called Grimmer. There was one of the top 3 was playing.
Andy Line was.
Yeah,
that's it.
Tim Bussout was, because I played him.
Yeah.
I think most of the rest weren't. I know Lee.
Okay. So then was similar to Cador, that you had a lot of returning and older who just didn't have the toys.
A lot of boat scar. Saw quite a bit of boat scar hanging around.
Yeah, I did see quite a bit.
It's
an obvious model to see.
If you're going to, why not? If you're going to Crix, why not boat scar? She's still a great caster. Just the toys she brings aren't that great.
You remortgage your house to buy it. Why not play it?
I mean, basically, and you basically took an entire month of work to paint her. So go for it.
She's like a day to paint tops, right? What are you on about?
You painted something. Jeez, I took months to paint that silly boat.
if it took you a month to build Scar, the next time you're thinking of buying a black anchor model, buy an airbrush instead, and spend that week learning to paint shit quick. Save yourself days of your life. Right, so next is Minions. So 6 players, 42 games, 23 wins. So 54.8%. So pretty decent. I think. I think minions,
Nice. Okay.
we're probably looking to be in a good spot.
Yeah.
We'll try and just whiz through the rest of them, and then because we can start talking about lists.
And just a quick caveat: we're now hitting the 5 and less players. We're hitting the points where the stats aren't as trustworthy because there's so few players.
Perhaps, yeah. So the next one is a doozy, right? So 5 Grimkin players, 35 games, 22 wins, which means 62.9%, which is the highest win rate of any of the factions.
I mean, I think 4th and 5th place in the tournament.
Yeah.
With the 2 Grimkin players.
Sounds right. I'm just loading it up now, but
Final standings. I'm loading up. Tiebreak's taking its sweet time.
I know, but Golly and Lewis were both in the top 10 with Grimkin.
But we'll be going through their lists. Sure, both of their lists we'll be going through.
4th and 5th was Grimkin in the top 10.
There we go.
And then if you scroll down, the next Grimkin player is in 48th. So to give you an idea,
21st. 21st.
So 21st. I've scrolled past Mike. So 21st and then 40.
There's something dodgy with the. Oh right, there were 5 Grimkin players, not 2. Okay, fine, yeah. Okay.
But so obviously two players who did really well. Obviously make a big difference in the percentage, especially when there's only a few players playing that faction.
But not just that. It's also that the worst Grimkin player went 3 and 4. So
Really?
Nobody with Grimkin slipped up, and I think to an extent there might be a little bit going on that they haven't been super relevant in the meta. Certainly in the year or so leading up to lockdowns, and then obviously they're not playing as much. And then they've got a few tools. They've got the Defiled Archons. They've got a couple of bits and pieces.
And they're a trap faction.
And people have forgotten how to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. People will get caught by all the traps.
People are triggering sacrifice in ways that they wouldn't have triggered sacrifice 3 years ago. They're falling for clocketry stutters in ways that they wouldn't have done a few years ago. Just that lack of repetition into Grimkin, because they've not been a big deal. All of a sudden, two very good players in Matt and Lewis.
I have big clock issues with Grimkin, because if you haven't played them a while, you're thinking about sacrifice, you're thinking about time stutter, but you actually clock yourself trying to work out how you unpack it.
Exactly. And I think fair play, especially to Matt and Lewis. Very, very good players. Obviously, doesn't need to be said. And it's that plus a bit of people forgetting how to do it. I played against Grimkin in the first round, and did have to sort of refresh that part of my brain to sort of remember how exactly that goes. And
yeah,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, I played against Golly's list, and I just didn't have the stuff to deal with it, and pretty much pushed me out of scenario and brutalized me. It was very effective. When you're saying,
but this is a faction 5 players still at 62%.
Yeah.
We need to eat a bit of our words. I think we ranked them too low previously.
Possibly, but like
I don't need to eat any words, Evan. I played them once and beat them, so.
and I like to think that we inspired those players to drag a bad faction into a good spot.
oh wow.
Yeah. So you set the bar right, and people got to rise to it. So
I'm straight. Okay, I'll run with that. I like that.
Let's jump to the chat a second. So Wade say doesn't Falcia work well with Mage Hunters? Yeah. So Falcia has got a really nice package where if she runs Mage Hunters, she could just charge up, hit something, apply bounty tokens, then feats. So try and put basically a prey upon and an execute on a caster, and then just unload with Mage Hunters. But there's so much stuff that can just shut it down. Like, if your caster has got Prowl and is in a wood, they're immune to it.
Or you could just play Falcia in another theme and have more than one route to victory that are all good because she's Falcia.
Yeah, that's the thing. But it was like a really one of the early builds of Falcia was like literally going deep. I'm going to put execute on your caster. I'm going to put prey upon on your caster. So all the Mage Hunters are +2/+2. Reroll any bad damage rolls. Do I just kill you? The answer is yes a lot of the time. But I think there's
probably,
also,
but wow.
But there's also a bunch of stuff that just say no to it, and that's the problem of going going, have they got sack pawn, or have they got stealth, or prowl, or there's too
Aldwych
many
2 or 3 or Kruger.
yeah, too many things that shut it down,
not a good
unfortunately.
idea.
But yeah, I'm still looking for my ideal fantasy list, or my ideal off list at the moment. So I feel the search. So let's just run down the last of the factions, and we can start looking at this. So Crucible Guard, only 5 players, and we're at 51.4%.
Yeah.
So pretty good.
What we expect.
Yeah, as you expect. Scorn at 4 players, bang on 50%. Scorn completely fine.
Yeah.
You heard it here. Completely fine. Mercs 4 players, 42.9.
Lower than I'd expect.
Yeah,
for
I think a
Mercs,
little bit lower than
okay.
expected, but it's within like that fair range, I think. In fact, we'll quickly finish up and you'll see this in a minute. So Menoth, only 2 players, 57.1. So obviously 1 player did well, 1 player didn't do well. That's just how stats work, unfortunately, at that level. Infernals, 2 players, 42.9. So they did it okay with 2 players. And then Convergence, just a 1 player, 42.9. So everyone apart from Signar is in that sweet middle ground. Like there's no crazy outlier. I guess Grimkin are like a little bit above the curve, but like
Grimkin are above the curve,
and I think that's partly player skill and new players just getting like caught with their pants down. Because I remember when we had players starting to come back to our club, like the first few Grimkin games were just fucking horrendous to play into them. I was like, I feel like just a bad guy, just like don't do that, don't do that. Don't do that, and you just watch them like going, oh shit.
And Infernals are a little bit like that as well.
Yeah.
If people haven't played into them and don't realize, like, you've got 3 turns to break the back of this army, else you're stuffed.
Yeah, it is. It is rough. Right, so we're on to lists. There you go. So I think. How do you guys think? I think the Welsh has shown a good like level of spread in factions, and nothing's like nothing looks super broken or super good. I think is where we're at.
Yeah. The one exception of Death Jack's friend. I think everything's in a really good spot.
Yeah. Why is this?
But I mean, even that's like I think that's a fairly. It's not a massively tilting thing. But that could use some work. But I think the game's in a really good spot. I mean, you look at how well spread these are.
Yeah, exactly. So let's start at. So I've got the list for the top 13. We're going to go through the top 10, really, though. Yeah. So
let's go top 10. We're going to take forever otherwise.
There was a top 10. Martin gave a special award to the 11th player because he's like, someone always just misses out. And then there was a bit of trolling about Paul North, who's come back. If you haven't listened to them, one of the Epic Flail guys, who was 12th, and typically I'm the one that's right behind him at 13th. So, but we're gonna ignore it and go straight to 10. So 10 is the lovely Jamie Cook Rogers playing minions. So
right.
if I go through the lists, and then we can discuss. So
shall I take this one as a minions player?
Yeah. So, do you want to go through his list and then we can discuss it? So
I've got it up on the screen.
Okay, cool. Go in that case.
Nice.
Go for it, buddy. Yeah.
So it's a bit of minions, bit of trolls. So it's your fairly classic Rask. This is the version that I know Jamie's been playing for a good while. So Rask with Soul Slave, 2 Black Hides, Barney Zero with 2 Swamp Horrors. Now it's high risk, high reward.
Very
on Barney Zero, but with Rask, it's so tough to get to him. So tough to take it down.
You've got the crazy speed and you've got Rask's feet. It's really hard to reach out.
Yeah, exactly. And then so it's 4 heavies basically, and then 3 Archons, 1 Void, 2 Primals.
So what are the heavies? It's 2 horrors,
2 Black Hides, 2 Swamp Horrors.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So he's not.
No Ninja Pig.
But no Ninja Pig, no. So this is something that Jamie and I discussed actually, is that you really want the Void Archon now in the list, mainly for Madrak 3, because if that Swamp Horror can go in fairly unopposed, eat 6 trolls, they can't do anything to it back next turn, and then you win the game. So yeah, 1 Void, 2 Primals, Boomy 3, Hermit, Misspeaker, Witch Doctor, Quack and Cub, Bellarscream. Standard minions will work for food stuff.
Yeah.
It's a great list. It's really, really good. I played it a bit when I was minions. There are a lot of minions players that don't like Rask. I am one of them. Never quite sat well with me, but Jamie does play him incredibly well.
Yeah.
And this version of it, you could make an argument for Ninja Pig. You drop the Void Archon, you drop maybe Boon Howler 3, and you get Roshan Brine in there, and it's the additional heavy. But the Void Archon is a little bit of a tech piece. They're not as good as they were, but they're still good models.
Yeah.
Especially when you can protect them reasonably well. And especially as well, they're one of those models, them and the Primal Archons as well. Giving them elasticity makes a huge difference. Yeah. It really means you can do some, especially because they can get to places, they can make multiple attacks all of a sudden quite a lot further away from each other. Makes it really strong. And I think elasticity lasts a turn as well, so it makes.
Does he have Lanissa in there?
No. James on the same page as me. That is that when you are already as fast as Swamp Horrors are, Lanissa actually can't keep up.
Right, got it.
So she sort of becomes a waste, really, because she's then got to be so far. Okay. She's got to start the turn realistically in front of where the heavies are.
Yeah, she does.
Probably died at that point.
Because that would be pushing them to 17 inches. Yeah, she'd have to be in front of the heavies. Yeah.
And then his second, in inverted commas, minions list is called Grimmer. And this is obviously in Vengeance of Dunia. So she's got a Mauler, Pyre, and Storm Troll. And then the sort of the big chunk of the list is Madrak Zero running a Mountain King.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then it is support city really after that. So 2 Dunians, Des and Gubbin, Sapper, 3 Raiders, Not, Valkyries, Stone. A lot of them support. It's basically put this Mountain King in the middle of the table with all Colgrim's tricks that she can do, and just say, "Can you kill this thing?"
It's
the
pretty
answer is
impressive. Yeah, because you can't cast spells on it because she does. Is it Owl's Wisdom?
Owl's Wisdom.
Yeah, so she Owl's Wisdom a bit, and then it spits out whelps every time you're damaging it. So the whelps can basically block more landing zones, and then you've got to basically run round it and get your melee.
The change to whelps from being base to base to within 2 inches is one of those really tiny looking changes, but is huge in terms of what it actually means. So I mean,
you just start bubble wrapping the idiot thing.
The real strength of Mountain King, as Dan was alluding to, that is it sits there with Bracer on it. It has the stone. It sometimes gets Madrak stone as well. Its armor, you're looking at somewhere between 25 and 27. And your first thing that you're going to try and do when taking out a big piece like that is try and strip the upkeep off it.
How is it that high? Because it's base 19, Bracer to 21, stone to 23.
And then Madrak stone for 25.
No, they don't stack, do they? I don't think they stack.
Yeah, they do. They're not the same rule.
You're shitting me.
Yeah. That is where it tops out. I think he's played it with a Death Archon at one point in the past as well, which pushed it higher. But
obviously,
the first thing that you want to try and do is strip the upkeep off it. So take away the.
But you can't do that because
You can't magic it off, which is a lot of ways that you strip upkeeps.
Yeah.
Things like Kalissa, Kalissa can't shoot it off because he's got 3 Valkyries to shield guard the. You have to have some really good
dispel melee weapon, basically.
Which is really.
Blast is obviously the other solution.
Or purification.
But both of these are not very common answers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it's a great list. It's a really good list.
Yeah, as Ben said, the 2-inch place from the whelps means the fucking whelps come out and just block the landing spot for your second heavy to go in. And then as you try and clear the whelps,
you need a second heavy.
No, but it's not just you need the second heavy. As you use the rest of your army to clear the landing spot for your second heavy, he Dunians it. and then he Dunions it, and then you eventually kill a whelp.
Steal the stupid damage.
So you just stop the damage roll to stop the landing spot from happening, and when you eventually get to kill a whelp, you heal the Mountain King. And if you can't clear enough of them to get a landing spot, the Mountain King just eats them. It's like...
I played against him using him, not exactly this list, but very, very similar. And I did manage to get both Hyperions into the Mountain King. I did just take it out. It's ridiculous how
two colossals
how strong it is.
Just about take it. It's rough, right?
Great list. Big fan. Well done, Jamie.
Yeah, it's cool.
10th place, best minions. Excellent.
Yes, he was indeed. Yeah. So 9th is Dean Booth. So Jamie, I should say as well, Jamie is very much a really accomplished minions player. He was on England first team, England Lions, until some work stuff got in the way. He's definitely top of one of the top players in the country. So Dean Booth is another Lions player. So playing Legion of Everblight. We've got his lists somewhere to hand. It is Lilith 4 and Veil 1. Do you want to cover this, Ed? Because you're Evan, so you're a bit of a Legion fan still.
I don't have the actual. The actual lists in front of me. That's why I was asking.
I put them on our Discord.
They're on the Facebook chat.
On the Facebook chat. On Discord, yeah. I'll go through them quickly though. So Veil 1 is Veil with in Oracles with 3 Angeli, Thagrosh with Typhon, Ysilla, a Blight Archon with a Seraph and a Mechanic Shredder, 2 Shepherds, Ice Witches, Min Hex Hunters with Baal.
And then I've got them here.
And then the second list is Mechanic Lilith.
So Min Raptors.
Let me go through it for the chat as well. So Mechanic Lilith with Azrael, a Bolt Thrower, Typhon, Ysilla, a Forsaken, an Archon with a Naga and a Mechanic Shredder, a Virtue Champion, 2 Spell Martyrs, another Forsaken, a Shepherd, Ice Witches, and then 2 lots of Virtue Hosts and a Min unit of Raptors.
Yeah. So let's actually chat these through quickly because I think they're quite interesting. So the Mechanolith list, I'll be honest, this one it absolutely baffles me a bit. I was asking Dean about it because I initially looked at this list. So just as the refresher, it's MacLily with 2 heavies. She's only got 2 heavies.
Yeah.
And that's Azrael and Typhon. And Azrael's barely a heavy, quite frankly. He's got 1 base attack at 17 points. You don't want to send him in melee. He's a good shooting piece. Typhon can earn his keep in melee. And then you've got the Nephilim Bolt Thrower, whose Animus makes Mechanolith a nightmare. So it's really about how much work you can get done with guns with Mechanolith.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, just the Virtue Hosts, when you've got Mortality on Mechanolith, do a shocking amount of work. And from there, it's just shooting out what you need. Similarly, the Raptors. So even though Mechanolith sounds like a blunt instrument,
so when you add deflection, because you've got like the things like the Raptors and the Virtue Hosts can be in their clouds, so they can have concealment and deflection. So they get to like def 16, 17, and just every turn.
They become quite painful.
Yeah, it's rough.
I think they start. They're def 16 and their armor's solid as well. And if you really want to be a pest, you can stick.
Dragon's blood from the Archon
you put Dragon's blood from the Blight Archon on them. They can really be a pain in the ass to budge.
Yeah.
So it's quite a finesse list because there aren't a lot of pieces. And there isn't that much to stop you, Kalissa, like shooting Typhon off the board in 1 turn. Like she'll do it easily. So this is a really difficult list to pilot, but Dean's a really good player. I wouldn't recommend anyone who wasn't a very experienced Legion player kind of copy this list. But it also has some, and just as Mechanolith, she's just got crazy assassination potential.
Yeah.
And the list adds to it because you've got Azrael with a crit slam, you've got the Nephilim Bolt Thrower with a crit knockdown. So lots of ways just to open up space. You've got the Blight Archon with Impending Doom. There are a lot of ways to open up line of sight to your caster, and it's really easy for Mechanolith, and potentially with Typhon there as well, to quite happily take out a
get
caster
somewhere
that's not
and kill
capping
you.
a lot.
Yeah. And the
an
veil list
interesting
goes
list,
like a
a
mile
very
as well, so it's
one.
very similar. It can just threaten to
Yeah.
kill you from a mile away, which is exactly what happened to me
And
when
then
we
Veil.
played.
Oh god, and Veil. 3 angels and Typhon, all basically. Dean is engaging in his love of Angelii.
It's
And
working
it's
out
a
right
pleasure
for
to
him.
watch these, and it's a pleasure to watch them in what's it called? Actually in action, because he makes so much use of that sidestep. It's unreal.
Yeah,
The downside is Angelii fall apart in a stiff breeze. So this one is it's another high risk, high reward list.
Yeah, it's very good though. Yeah, so we played it round 3, I think, and between Slipstream, Leash, Chiller, Insight, and Sidestep, he got an Angelus onto my caster. It's like brutally far and brutally hard. It was really good. Unfortunately, the game
crosses the board.
That game is lost. That game is lost to the mists of Twitch, unfortunately. So I started. So if people have been watching the games I've been putting up recently, I've been doing obviously we'll stream live games and stuff like this, and then the games I've got, then I'm converting into like a proper sped up battle report. It doesn't actually take me that long to do, so I've bit the bullet finally done it, and they seem to be a bunch more popular. But the Firestorm stream didn't record the games, so they only held them on Twitch for 2 weeks. So last weekend when I was recording the last games, the feed just disappeared partway through one of the recordings because it reached the 14-day limit, so it just went offline. So so I reached out to Firestorm and they're like, we didn't record it, which is a bit, it is what it is. So we missed 2 games, but I've got the rest of them are either on YouTube now or are in the queue to go up. So I think Game 5 went up yesterday, and then Game 6 will go up probably this weekend, and then the finals will go up as well. And then I'll start doing the same to the rest of the games I've got recorded. But never mind. Yeah.
I think Veil 1 is worth noting why Veil 1 is back as such, because I think she was such a relevant caster in Mark 2 and Mark 3. Rule changes didn't really work for her.
And she lost so much in that transition. She lost just so much.
She did. She lost a lot of stuff that didn't really matter, and she lost her feet affecting herself.
Yeah, cat and mouse on her was
she
big.
Lost.
And Insight going down into the range.
There were 3 things she lost. So Insight actually got a little bit better for her. From Mark 1 to from Mark 2 to Mark 3. It was only beasts in Mark 2.
And it's got up in range.
Now and so now she got her range back. She lost what's it called? Cat and mouse was obviously the massive one that she couldn't use her feet because it was without her moving she would just die. But the biggest one she lost was an anti-horde spell. She had Rampager in Mark 2.
Yeah.
And that gave her arced spells just the most amazing controllability against hordes.
And that's what I'm saying. So the thing that's changed recently, as Dan's just alluded to, is that Insight has gone up from 8 or 9 inches to 12.
From 9 up to 12.
Yeah.
Which is so huge in terms of, and we've touched on this before, I think, with regards to Fiora 3 with the book, is that she's now got a way to get use out of Insight and not die, has made her relevant. Likewise, the same has happened with Veil 1, is that she can now project that a lot further from a much safer place, put it on the 2 or 3 models she needs it on, kill them, and then there's nothing that's coming back at her. A great little change, made her really good again. Dean's getting great results.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, and Insight is a beast of a spell. It really
is. You bet it is. Right, let's have a look at the next one. So the next one is the first of 3 trolls in the top 10. So this is James Snodgrass at 8th. And his lists are so the fear, the one that we see. Is Mandrak 3 in Band of Heroes. So Mandrak's got a Rune Bearer, a Dire Troll Brawler, an Earthborn Dire Troll, and a Pyre Troll. Felcaller Hero, Dunian Archon, Whelps, Boomy 3, 2 Trollkin Skinners, max unit of champions with Scaldi, a max unit of Fen Blades with the Officer and Drummer, and a max unit of Tuffalos of Trollkin Long Riders. And he's paired it with...
So,
do we go through the pair first, and then we'll
go ahead.
Yeah.
and then we've got Gunny 2, just because I'm reading it off my Facebook chat, so it's saved me going back and forth. So Gunny 2's got a Rune Bearer, a Bomber, Dozer and Smeg, a War Wagon, a Gunnery Sergeant, a Pig Tank, Leadfoot and Treads, General Thunderstone Brug, 3 lots of Whelps, max unit of Northkin Raiders, and a Thumper Crew and 1 Barrage team. So
only 1 Barrage team. That is interesting.
Well, he's got a War Wagon.
So I played against James.
Yeah.
In round 6, I think. I played against him. Played Madrak 3 against Farseer. And I would say in this, and he won, and he played the game well. But of the Madrak 3 lists that we're going to see, and the ones that you sort of see around in various guises, I think I actually like this the least. It has got 2 heavies.
It's a great list, isn't it? It's champions and long riders.
It is, which means you've only got 1 unit of Fen Blades, and it just feels, because the champions don't threat a very long way, so you can sort of ignore them for a bit. If you can deal with enough of the Fen Blades and enough of the long riders, the champions and the heavies don't threaten very far, and you can really sort of deal with it wave by wave in the way that you can't against the swarm of Creole Warriors or against the double Fen Blades.
Yeah,
those kind of builds.
Does he not have? Does this mean he doesn't have any caber throwers?
No, because he's
not.
No,
he doesn't. So he's susceptible to guns, which is what happened in our game. I absolutely shredded the Fen Blades, killed all the long riders. But he managed to assassinate Falsier, but other than that, he was gone in the game because the champions were snared, so they threatened even fewer inches than they normally do.
It was your game to lose, and you lost it because you will shred every. He's got no decent defense outside of his feet.
Yeah,
he's got exactly.
You can shoot it off or mitigate it well easily.
Yeah. That only gets you so far.
Yeah.
I like the Skinners, though. I do like the Skinners in the list a lot.
That's interesting.
A 3-point ambush model is always useful.
Yeah. Never faulted. That's scenario gold, frankly.
So,
the
Gunny list.
The Gunbjorn 2 list is just too dull for words, isn't it? I mean, who cares?
Fuck. I just can't.
Let's talk about the interesting bit of that list. The Pig Tank. 10 out of 10. Awesome scenario piece. Chuck it in the zone, just don't lose on scenario. Good stuff.
Pig Tank and Leadfoot, yeah. Some good. But this is a similar thing to, I think.
Actually, interestingly.
Go on.
What Evan commented on is that Evan commented he only had 1 barrage team. I actually think the biggest shock in that list is that he doesn't have the Pharaoh Razorback crew.
Yeah, they're really good.
I'm used to seeing 2 Razorback crews as well. I'm used to
exactly. Or at least one. At least one for Gunbjorn's additional shot ability. Sort of.
Agreed.
Not it. Yeah. Well, if you want the War Wagon, you have to make sacrifices, and I guess his decision is probably the Razorback crew or the Pig Tank, and he figures maybe he's been losing on scenario a bit, so he wanted the Pig Tank in there. I think it's a.
I want to see Des and Gubbin as well. I really want to see Des. If you want to use his extra shot, Des and Gubbin's a fantastic guy to give it to.
I'm trying to think if he's used his minions solo. I don't think he has.
Yeah.
Can you give it to friendly rather than friendly faction? Or is that why he doesn't take it? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. You can in Vengeance of Dunia, certainly, because in Vengeance of Dunia, either way, look, I don't think either of these lists are what we would necessarily take if we were playing those. But, apart from you, Evan, he's done better than both me and Dan. So
fair enough, he's done really well with it. It's just,
he knows what he's doing.
I'm scratching my head just looking at it.
Yeah, there's a few things that are unusual, but they obviously work for him. He's done really well in the event, better than he thought he would, and congratulations for that.
Yeah.
Using a few things that are a bit different, a bit more interesting.
Yeah,
You know what? That's a good thing as well.
I think it's a little bit.
If people are doing well with things we didn't think are the obvious, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like Dean with his Lilith list. Like there's a lot of variance to the Lilith list. There's also a lot of variance to the Madrak list. And I think some players are probably still finding their feet. You know, they're trying to go how far do they want to go. So they really want to buy 3 units of Caber of Creel Warriors and Cabers because you're not going to use them anywhere else. Stuff like that. I've just sold the second unit of
I agree with that. I wouldn't buy 3, but a min unit, 1 or 2 min units, just to have some Cabers around, I think is gold.
Yeah, I think it really. Yeah, you want to deliver the army, so having that Carapace on hand, and you also want to have the volume of bodies. So taking champs and taking long riders for me would be a no because I'd want to put more dudes that threaten further and can just be jammed up there because that's
it's a defensive list. I want to lay the defenses.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's move on to. Something's fallen behind me. Let's move on to the next one. So Aaron Dix, so in 7th is
another troll list.
Yeah, this is the second. This is the second of 3 trolls in the top 10. So he's playing Madrak 3 in Storm of the North, with a Rune Bearer, a Pyre Troll, a Mauler, an Axer. So a bit more beef maybe than normal. Bumbles.
Yeah.
Valka, Champion Hero. A Fellcaller hero, Dunian Archon, Boomy 3, and then Bears, 2 units of Fire Eaters, a Creelstone with the Northkin Elder, and Champions with Scaldi. So again, a very different list again. So he's
I think I'd have to play into this. I can't talk intelligently about how what this does. I need to actually play into it.
So I've got, I think this
fascinating.
Yeah, I've got this. So I've got his game versus Lewis recorded. So I will convert that into a bat rep in the next week and get that up because it's a really close game as well. So that'd be really cool. But Fire Eaters,
have always scared the shit out of me.
Fire Eaters do a lot of work, and when you can make them fucking so hard to kill with Madrak, I think that's pretty cool. Like the Champions of Scaldi is like that good anchor to go in. The fact that he's got multiple models with counter charge and like counter charge knockdown slams out of Bumbles and does Valka counter charge as well? Or she just got
counter charge but no knockdown.
But no knockdown, yeah. Just a Weapon Master counter charge or whatever she is.
God, Aaron was my last game, right?
Have you played this guy?
This is making more sense.
You're a bad person.
Yes, I played his Gunny One list.
This guy's lists. So anyway, so that's the Magic list, and then the as you just let out, it's Gunny 1 in Power of Dunia, with a Rune Bearer, a Glacier King, a Mountain King,
double kings,
an Axer, an Impaler, a Bouncer, a Feral Geist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lots of Whelps, Janissa, Dunia Knot, and a Creelstone with Northkin Elder. So you tell us about the list you played then, because
so the Gunny One list, it's basically just trying to say, listen, I can shoot the hell out of one of your beasts. I can control you with the Glacier King by not only shooting you and knocking you back. I can throw Snipe onto it, which means that's a range 16 Glacier King, which is really hard to get near without getting shot to pieces.
And the Stonekin,
Gunny himself.
The stone thingy, the
Gunny
stone
himself
attachment makes it more powerful as well, right? Because it's a cold damage. Yeah.
Exactly. Gunny himself with the Impaler's Animus has a massive range on his boomstick, and it's looking to just shoot the hell out of you while you get close, and when you eventually get close, you get eaten by 2 gargantuans, and any shooting you do is just going to get nommed away with whelps. So it's quite a nice little keep away. If you've got any way to kind of launch a heavy across the table, it struggles a bit, which is what happens when you play Chromac.
And this
Well,
is
I think the other thing that you have to talk about with Going Beyond 1 is I think he has on his card what I think is arguably the best spell in the game in Rockwall, especially when you're playing with two.
It is
two
such a good
gargantuans.
spell.
Having that spell to just sort of, if there's one heavy that you're worried about getting into, or even better, colossal that you're worried about getting into you can absolutely shut that down with
I didn't realize he's got Rockwall.
Yeah, diagonal rock walls in front of your gargantuan to stop, to just like deny.
Yeah, that's a
huge
pain in the ass.
Just delicious, and also his feat, right? So if he's not taking the defensive stuff against range attacks for his Madrak list, this is the list that takes the gun line. He's brought a very, very beefy gun line that just goes, you can't hurt me for a turn, no matter what guns you brought. I just ignore them because that's what the feat does, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's a nice little kind of come at me bro list.
Yeah.
And then Maddie 3, interesting. It's Storm of the North. Okay, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, as I said, we were both exhausted.
Check it out on YouTube. You can watch. Yeah, I was going to stream you guys playing, wasn't I? And then I think I ended up streaming JCR and
Aaron said, "Don't even dream it," and he was right.
Yeah, he was. Which is fair. So I should probably say this because I mentioned it at the start. So obviously JCR was England Lions, but had to step away because of work. Dean Booth is England Lions. Aaron is Wales Per Dynanon. He is our Merc. He's our reserve. And then we've got you, Evan, we come to next. So you're England Roses. We'll just quickly go through this because it's interesting to see. Next is Lewis. Lewis is the captain of the second Welsh team, Wales Gwisky. Then Golly's in fourth, who is England Lions. Then Andy Devine is Wales Gwisky. Then Wout is Belgium. Not sure what their name's going to be. And then Rob McCormick is previously Roses or Knights, but not this.
Previous Knights,
because he's a teacher, so teachers don't get to go to events. Kids, if you're watching, don't become a teacher if you want to go to school events.
James Snodgrass is getting married, so he can't come.
Yeah. all pretty good. So yeah, it's really cool to see
poor excuses.
Good to see like the Welsh and the English WT teams like represented very, very well. So I guess we should go on to the top circle player. It makes me a bit.
Can I say one more thing on this Madrak 3 list?
Oh yeah, definitely. Quickly? Yeah, definitely. Anything to avoid talking about.
This is an interesting addition.
Yeah, anything to keep Kruger off the cast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go into a coma for 20 minutes after this. Unusually for Madrak 3, he's taken the stone.
Yeah.
Now, it almost feels like a waste of points, especially as he's gone max stone, rather than just the min. So it's 10 points.
Does it not get him play a lot wider?
Yeah.
Well, it does, and it also he's got the Northkin Elder rather than the Stone Scribe Elder or whatever the other one's called.
And it's in Stone North.
Which gives him the bit extra
yes, everyone gets to go
over
speed.
Gives a bit harder hitting. There's a few little tricks and bits and pieces there that Krillstone where it looks like it's an odd fit in the Madrak list because Madrak does so much of it himself.
Yeah.
And often a further range of it. Looks like an odd fit, but it is clearly there sort of in the sort of the Storm in the North list to give that extra threat range, to give those just few tricky little bits and pieces, and I quite like it. In that
unusual, really interesting. I like
John
seeing a slight deviation from the usual.
Yeah, John Henry runs a stone, I think, in his one, and that's all with the Creel Wars, and it's in Storm of the North, so he can spread out further. And then he's got just basically an army-wide threat extender that you can just go. This guy just runs into this position. All these guys get an extra speed. And I think the size of it is probably to do with getting that area, and also being able to go, which side do my bears want to come in, and be able to make sure you can get the extension onto the bears maybe. So when they charge in from ambush,
extension on bumbles or
it's definitely worth
it. Go on, talk about Kruger, then off you go.
In sixth position is Evan. Evan.
Yeah.
Best circle player in South Africa and Britain. Go on. What did you play? What was your list? Because I haven't got them written down.
2 lists. Okay, so let's start with the more obvious one, which is Kruger. So Kruger is playing with he's playing in Secret Masters because, of course, 2 Wold Wardens, a Warpwolf Stalker, Feral Warpwolf, and a Wold Weird. He's 2 Stone Shapers, Bogtrog Mistspeaker, Chuck Dogwoods, 2 Death Archons, Desengaben, Hermits, Lanissa, Scythe, 2 River Raiders, and a unit of Shifting Stones.
You're just a degenerate, aren't you?
And then... Sorry?
And you're just a degenerate. It's like it's a full...
absolute
pure
degeneracy.
Full hate you list. What lovely thing have you paired that with?
And I paired that up with Chromac 1.
Ooh.
And that's a Feral Ghetto, Ghetto-Rex Loki, a Warpwolf Stalker, Druid Wilder, Chuck Dogwood, Kruger 0 with a Wold Weird, because even when you're not playing Kruger, you should always be playing Kruger. Then it's River Raider, a trio of Warwolves, the Death Wolves, Pharaoh Valkyries, Shifting Stones, and the Well of Orboros. So, I mean, the things, I think everyone kind of knows the Kruger nonsense by now. The only things that are really flex points here are whether I've seen Scythe. Some people have decided she's too expensive for 6 points, but I really like the extra shooting out of her.
Yeah.
Similarly with 4 heavies, do you really need a weird? And it turns out if you want to keep the assassination threat on the table, the answer is yes, you want a Wold Weird.
Yeah, that's such a good piece.
Oh, they are such amazing pieces. The one where a lot of people would probably call me a coward is taking the Bogtrog Mistspeaker. Like, there are more efficient things you can do for 3 points. Because, the Mistspeaker's there so I don't get shut down by clouds. I just feel like with all of the crap that you're going to pull with Kruger, being shut down by a cloud, it's just a sad way to be shut down. There are better work pieces you could take instead. And an interesting point of this list is Lanissa Rissel actually was a mistake. That should be a Black Lad Wayfarer. And then I realized just through some of the games where, yes, she's a higher defense than a Wayfarer, 1 point. But the Wayfarer gets stack pawn friendly faction minion model in the theme, and that's just better.
Yeah.
Take your power 12 gun and hit a Death Archon. That's fine. I can live with that.
Or hit Hermit and don't care about it.
Leave my Hunter's Mark alone. And Chromac 1's really interesting. I've seen so many different variants on Chromac 1. Like, everyone wants to play him.
Tell me about Death Wolves.
So, Death Wolves are there because I want something that can sit in a zone without getting my heavies charged. Because I've got one moderately resilient heavy in Loki, and I've got Ghetto-Rex who's a brick. Well, not even a brick, he's just a rock. He's so hard to budge. But aside from that, the whole list is really hinging on 4 heavies.
Have you got the pot in there? Sorry, Evan.
There's no pot in that.
So you don't have, but the well can give them corpses, right? So if the well kills stuff, it can allocate its corpses.
Yeah. So when the stars align, the well can hand out corpses. But in the latest update, the Death Wolves got a nice quality of life update. They start with a corpse each. So it takes you 2 reasonable quality shots to kill each Death Wolf. So they can really just sit in a zone and be a pain in the ass about it.
Yeah,
or
they're not super popular. So just for people who are watching, going Death Wolves, and they don't have War Room to hand. So the Death Wolves have got this lovely rule. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically they can spend a corpse to reduce a damage roll down to 1 damage point. So obviously they start with 1, and if the well can get shots off onto your infantry, if you brought them and killed them, then it can allocate its corpses onto the Death Wolves. So basically, if they're stacked full of corpses, they're really like a lot trickier to remove from a zone than you first
they're
maybe.
really hard.
Yeah.
They've got 5 boxes, and if I've got 3 corpses, you need to hit this thing 4 times to kill it.
Yeah.
It's a real
realistically,
pain to remove.
You're looking at the same tools that you wanted to use to remove the Buck and remove the Hermit.
Yeah.
The same tricks work.
Yeah.
But I really, they're my favourite thing that you've got in that list. I think they're a really nice addition to it.
Yeah, I think they're cool.
Yeah,
They're a great little.
They also do one extra thing, which is, if you're playing with 4 heavies, you don't really love playing into lots of infantry. Although the Warpwolf Stalker, can do a lot for that. But playing into lots of infantry can hurt quite a bit when you're just, relying on 4 heavies. And the Death Wolves can surf infantry. Because they pick up a corpse, they've got overtake. You can actually surf through a full unit of infantry if people aren't careful.
Yeah. Effectively act like Ravagers do on their mini feet turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only one of them has 2-inch reach, but yeah.
Yeah, they're a really cool unit. Like lots and lots of tricks to them. They're definitely a good addition, I think.
Yeah.
And do you think is it just Lanissa you'd change out then, or would you change out any of the lists? Or?
I'm very happy with my Chromac list. Yeah, the only thing I would change out here is Lanissa. Yeah. Lanissa and potentially Scythe. I don't know. Like when she does great things, she does great things, and I want the range output. But she's 6 points. I could see a world in which Scythe gets traded out.
How much
for
are weirds? A weird 7 points.
Weirds are 8.
Oh, 8.
So I need to find another 2 points after Scythe. But realistically, my Kruger list doesn't have the Fury management to put another beast in his battle group. Yeah, that's not an option. As much as I'd love it. But Lanissa trading out for a Black Lad definitely must happen.
Okay. Cool. Well done though. That's another. That's So that's the highest performing circle lists.
Yeah, that's as good as Circle was doing on the weekend.
So talking about lots of dudes, we're going on to Lewis next. So Lewis James with Grimkin. So his lists are Dreamer in Dark Menagerie with a Cage Rager, 2 Clockatrices, 2 Skinnamones, 2 Crabbits, a Death Knell, 2 Gremlin Swarms, 2 Defiled Archons, 2 Witchwoods, and Lady Cariana Rose. So this is.
That has to be the most standard list there is in any faction. At the moment.
It's very, very much like the. Yeah, absolutely, and it's still pretty good. There's some stuff. Yeah, exactly. Some stuff it definitely doesn't want to see, but there's some stuff that it will give a game into a lot of lists, just by virtue of having her ability to create phantasms and do movement shenanigans and hit like a truck. And his pairing with it is Heretic with this is in bump. If there's any guesses, so Heretic in bump with Baron Tunglick, 2 Clockatrices and a Crabbit. That's the battle group, and then 2 Defiled Archons, Isaiah, 2 Malady Men, Lord Longfellow, 2 Witchwoods, and 3 max units of Dreadrots. So 30 Dreadrots coming across the table with Fury, with Prey potentially. Like this was the pairing that I was playing when I was playing Grimkin last.
Whatever it hits just disappears.
Yeah, it is significant. Ouchies when 30
it's a lot of dreads to stop hitting your lines.
Yeah, that's it. And if you kill half of each unit, then that's still 15 weapon masters who can be like 15. Power. What?
15
power
Mac
17
8 power stupid weapon masters.
Power 17 or 18 weapon masters, I think.
What do they start at? They start at 10, Gang to 12,
Fury to
15, and you can throw the Trump Arcana to 17.
Technically, but so there's a bit of control where your opponent can deny you that potentially, but it's really hard versus this list to do so.
But there's a base level power 15 weapon master every turn.
Yeah,
that's enough.
And there's a potential to push it another one up if you take like Fortune's Path as well, where you go like, oh, this guy will let you have a free strike. Do you want it? Oh, cool. The rest of my army gets an extra +1. So Lewis has done really well. I think he's mostly played the Heretic list, but he did play Dreamer. He didn't just one list it. He's done very well for himself. Super proud of the boy. I was staying at Lewis's over the weekend, and I was like, I really want best Welsh player, and Lewis was battling me for it. I was like, fair play. It's really good for his confidence as one of our captains as well. Like knowing that he's got the capability to pull out some good numbers. So absolutely hats off to you, Lewis.
Fantastic.
I agree, Dan. Players should let their captains finish above them.
Well, he's not my captain. In fact, I beat my captain in round 2. So
did you train your captain well, Dan?
No. Lewis isn't the captain of the team I'm in. Matt's my captain, right. who I beat in round 2 and farmed some CPs off him before I let him die, like a pro. So Grimkin doing well. So the next one is Golly. So Matt Gollier from England Lions again is playing Grimkin. Golly's lists were. Does anyone know what his off list was? So he had a list, and he had the list he actually played. So I think he just one listed Old Witch,
right?
Which I will get up now.
I think his off list was the Dreamer list.
Yeah, probably.
I thought he had a house just to troll people in his tray.
No,
I could be wrong. No, okay.
Yeah. Okay, right. I've gone to my chat with him, and he's only sent me one list. I don't know if he even had a second list. I think it was.
Was this just Old Witch Dreadrots?
Yeah. I think it was Dreamer was his off list in theory, but what he played every round, I'm pretty sure, was Old Witch, Zavan, Arga, the Fate Keeper in Bump of the Night with 2 Clockstresses and a Rattler. 2 Trapperkins, 2 Defiled Archons, a Grave Ghoul, Hermit, Isaiah, a Caskimp, or rather 1 point, which is 2 Caskimps, which is just basically to feed the Grave Ghoul, and this is just a floating point. 2 Maldy Men, and then 30 Dreadrots, 3 max units of Dreadrots.
Is there no way to squeeze the Twilight Sisters into that list? Because once you've got Hellhole from the Old Witch, and you can already bring back.
But you're only really using Hellhole on feat turn. Because every other turn,
fair enough. You're just going to Windstorm with 18 inches every turn. Right, fair enough. Okay.
So it's handy that you can bring a few back, but that's it. Like, what does she have? She's got...
into a melee list, I think I would be doing that. Like,
there's the option.
Melee list, you can go nuts.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't take the Rattler and puts in something else instead. So takes a Crabbit instead of Rattler. Yeah. So he's got 5 points
to find
spare.
5 points for the sisters.
Well, yeah, that's 5 points, right? Sisters are 5 points, but
that's a lot.
Which is all right. The Rattler is situational, but I think Golly owns 3 Rattlers randomly. He's just randomly got more Rattlers than anyone has
fair
enough to own or play.
But that sounds like a really good, really good option.
It's basically super defensive to keep those Dreadrots alive on the way in. When Old Witch can just shut down shooting from so far away, it just pisses on fucking Kruger's range, right?
So, have you found that to really be the case? Maybe it's because I'm playing into Red too much. I find that there's so much range 10 shooting that gets dropped to range 8 that just doesn't care. I've really found Windstorm to be a much less effective spell nowadays.
But when Windstorm's 18-inch Windstorm...
And again, if you're dropping range 10 to range 8, who cares?
But my guns are longer, right? I'm looking at 14...
If you're shutting down a turn, you're earning your keep.
Yeah. And whereas I'm with you, Evan. I'm thinking of Tridents. They're range 10. Oh no, they're down to range 8 now.
It makes no difference.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm playing into Issy Double Trident too often, but I'm just finding Windstorm meaningless.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's the thing. You're being terrorized by tridents, whereas
I am.
Yeah, but it was really good. We played in the last round, and basically because I did have like a lot of stuff like the Ghost Snipers, Kalissa, Eternae, stuff that was really getting its range hindered.
That will hurt.
He was able to push basically into like scenario scoring positions where I couldn't get to enough of his Dreadrots to stop it. And like one side, I basically just had like a face off of a unit of Electromancers waiting for them to come forward and cowering away from the Defiled Archon. So as soon as the Defiled Archon kills one, it kills two. And when there's one Electromancer left, at which point the Dreadrots just surge up the table and go, cool, you now don't have the volume of attacks probably to kill us all. Which is what happened.
Oof.
Yeah, which is cool.
Does he have a Grave Ghoul in that?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you just chucks the monkeys and the...
chuck
the monkeys together with the...
great thing.
With the Cask Imps and just puts it at 4 corpses turn 1 basically, and then off he goes, which is nice, which is very nice.
Exactly.
So, right, I'm gonna leave you with you guys should have the lists right for Wout and Rob in the chat. I'm just gonna go in there sort my little boy.
I
will
don't
post,
actually. Do
I will
you?
post them. Yeah. So Andy Devine is next.
Okay. Andy Devine.
Here we go.
Do you have that?
Andy Devine's list. So I'll go to, I played against Andy Devine a lot, so I know he took Karchev 2, and I'm absolutely certain his off list will have been Scar 1. Scar 1 being the list that he's played forever, and Karchev 2 being the new big scary thing.
Yeah.
As we when we get the list from Dan and when we sort of run through it,
I have a sneaky suspicion he's posted us on the Facebook chat. Are you on the Facebook chat?
Yeah, but I don't think he has. I think he thinks he's posted it.
Ah. Okay, well then talk about it in more general
here we go.
terms.
We got it.
Oh, there we go. Got him. Okay.
Got it,
there's
so.
his carjack list.
There
we go.
right,
and
so
there's his car list. Okay, go ahead.
Karchev 2, 5 Desecrators. Now that's, at this point, pretty standard fare.
I don't know if it is. I think that's an unusual choice. I think 3 Desecrators, 2 Inflictors is more standard fare.
Maybe. Either way, the Desecrator for 12 points is ludicrous.
It was a false alarm.
If people are already slipping into a coma, hold on, because this does get a bit more interesting. Derek Wraith obviously does the same job as the Death Archon does in the Karchev. In the Cador version, Ragman, 2 Sirens, 3 Necrotechs, and a Soul Trapper. And then he's gone for 3 min units of Mechanical Thralls with
that
3 Brute Thralls
each.
Is
really interesting.
It is, and then 2 units of 2 Necrosurgeons and Stitch Thralls to keep putting them back together. And it's what we're seeing with the Crix list now, for those who tuned in live when I was talking through my games, in the last round I played against Crix Karchev 2 with a Wraith engine in there. And this is where I think there's the distinction between the Crix version and the Cador version. The Cador version is just pure numbers. Here's 7 heavies, they're really good quality heavies. Deal with them. Whereas the Crix versions are developing in more interesting ways now. So you've either got very an incorporeal battle engine you've got to deal with as well, or as Andy's done with his list, which I find very interesting, is you've got these 5 heavies to deal with with Carapace, with Locked Horns, with -2 for living damage rolls. But also you've got to deal with these 3 units of Mechanical Thralls with Brute Thralls in there as well.
What's also really interesting there is with the 9 Brute Thralls, if he's worried about a ranged assassination, so like a Bethane 1 type scenario,
he's just not.
He's got 9 shield guards. He doesn't care.
Exactly. One unit of them. Well, I think it's 1 unit gets to ambush. I'm not absolutely certain of the.
One gets to ambush with the theme.
Yeah. And it's just that they might run out. Because they're slower than, or certainly about the same speed as the Warjacks. I don't know how the order of activations works. I've not actually watched that. Go on the Twitch channel and watch Andy playing this list. There we go. Plug for Dan.
Some of it's on YouTube as well, and I've played into this as well. So me and Andy had a day before the Welsh where he just came down and we played a couple of variants, and so she's got basically 2 units of Mechanothralls with the brutes in his army with the recursion package behind, so to cover basically each sort of flank, each side of the army, so left and right, fairly central, and then he's got 1 unit that can come in from ambush. So he's forcing stuff into the middle, because like the Mechanothralls and Brute Thralls hit hard enough that you've got to consider them. Because they all can combo strike.
The Brutes
do,
the Mechanothralls really don't. But,
well, they do with combo strike, right?
They
just pile into you.
No, even with combo strike to power 13, they really don't.
Are they only power 13? I thought they were power 15, but I might be wrong.
No, they got nerfed to hell come Mark 3. That's why you haven't seen them for so long.
Oh, okay, well, but still, they're bodies that can go in and get in the way, charge in, and the Brute Thralls come in at power 19, right? Power 19.
19. I think it is 19. The Brute Thralls hit like a truck.
Yeah, and then so he's got this package basically where the Brute Thralls hang back, but the Mechanothralls are in the way. When you kill the Mechanothralls, their corpses just get collected, and then they get spat back out the next turn. If you kill them, then cool. Then the brutes and the jacks will actually get to work. But basically, it stops heavies charging his heavies. That's the main thing.
And the five heavies are each packing a power 14 gun.
Yeah. Power 14 with the Scather thing that is undead guys ignore, right? So he basically has
these... It's a really interesting list, even though it looks quite boring.
He's got basically a recurring screen that can go and contest or just jam, where his heavies are behind that can shoot and put these AoEs that he doesn't care about running into, but your opponent probably does. And then any sort of ranged or magic chip damage onto the jacks gets repaired, because he's also brought that along. And if you do manage to, if you're playing against a Warmachine army and they throw lights or heavies into you that you destroy, then you pick them up and turn them into scrap tokens to do better repairs or to put more things in the way.
And he's brought Ragman to kind of push up the damage, because he does have a bit of a damage output problem here.
Yeah, because he doesn't have Denny Zero. That's the sacrifice he's made. He's not having Denny Zero or...
That's never a sacrifice.
Well, we talked about it a lot. Denny Zero. The problem is she's so unreliable because she's got such a shit magic stat.
Yep.
And it was like we were seeing through talking about games that Andy was playing and our games of that even when she's boosting into the rear of something, she's still missing like 40-50% of the time. Sometimes more against like the wrong army, and it's like, well, do you just take something that doesn't require you to hit to apply a damage buff, which is exactly what Ragman is, right? It doesn't require to roll any dice. As long as he's alive, he just comes up, does his thing, and away you go. So I think it's a really good tech choice. But yeah, Andy's definitely been finessing his list and
it's
making
an interesting variant.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
And
obviously the other variants for people that are listening that are thinking what else is Crick's bringing? Yeah, is I think you guys covered it while I was away briefly.
Yeah.
Like the Wraith engine is the one skew of can you deal with a death warded incorporeal Wraith engine with locked horns and Dara with mortal fear behind it. And I know Chris, who's not too far from either me and Ben, is running a prime conflux on Gatsby to do something similar. Just go, can you deal with this?
Oh, interesting.
This huge armor and boxes. Can you finish it off before it finishes you? Which is interesting. But yeah, I think Crick's Karchev is kind of evolving in lots of different directions, whereas Cador Karchev seems a little bit stale, I'd say.
All of them bullshit.
yeah, all of them are bullshit.
I mean, but Ben's point stands. Like, we're seeing a lot more interesting variants emerge in Cricks than we are in Cador. Cador's really, do you want to try to bring 7 or 8 heavies, or do you want that little bit of flex with a slightly more powerful heavy that's got a range game?
Yeah, I think that's it. You'll know what you're going to see against Cador Karchev 9 times out of 10. Like you can say this will be what the build will be, and maybe there'll be a little flex in some of the lists where people are trying to make it.
Most interesting thing Cador card have occasionally does is throw Victor in there.
Yeah.
Right, so we're nearly there. So that's the top Cricks list, if you hadn't guessed, and obviously Golly was the top.
On the Scar 1 list, it's Scar 1 with Stalkers.
It's an old
6 Stalkers. It's
old terror.
He's got a Death Ripper, which is unnecessary, and he's got Charybdis because why not?
So it's not unnecessary, the Death Ripper. Charybdis is really cool because it threatens a long way. That is part of the core list that Andy's been playing since forever. The Death Ripper, because there are some turns where Scar doesn't really do very much, especially sort of a couple of turns after feet turn. She's healed back a bit, she's sort of sat there. And she has got, I think it's Hellfire she's got as her nuke, which is really...
most turns all she's doing is she's just going to cast whatever that sacrifice spell is,
and then spend the boosted attacks, and then that's. Whereas what the Death Ripper does for 5 points is it just gives a couple of Hellfire options. It goes and sits in the zone just as well as anything else does. It's one of those. It's a really nice little interesting choice.
Yeah. So I'll give you some insight from Andy on it, because Dr. Stygius is there to cast sacrificial strike, or whatever it is, sacrificial.
Yeah.
So he does that for her, and I know that Andy has said, I can't remember what game he was describing to me when we were. I can't remember if it was on the way back from Firestorm from the Welsh or another time. But yeah, he runs up the Arc Node. And has literally just gone, well, Scar doesn't do anything first turn with a focus. She basically just dumps focus, or just leaves focus and runs half the time.
Do Garsby's little servitors come back if you RFP them?
Yeah.
So he ritual sacrifice those bloody servitors. That's amazing. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I do love it. Okay.
Yeah, and like the Death Ripper, Andy's in chat, the Death Ripper can be power 21, or he can just run and just go, I've just zapped 2 of your important things with Hellfires on turn 1, or she probably dropped 3. In fact, this was Andy's description, was Stygius does the ritual sacrifice, because it's doing your next activation, you get the focus.
Yes.
And then Scar goes, having run up the Death Ripper, and puts like 3 or 4 Hellfires into the front line of things and just kills really important models. And it's like for those games, it's worth it. So I would say
it's good. And also the final thing that I'll say about Andy's performance this weekend, that where deserves even more credit for how well he did, is that he wasn't even mainly focused on Warmachine most of the day on Sunday, because he was far more interested in the football than he was in the actual game he was playing. So really, he knows his list so well that he can do that and still put in these great results.
That combined with the fact that he vomited at least 4 times before the first game on Sunday. So he was rough on Sunday. Yeah, I think.
Well done, Andy.
Yeah, I think he'd chucked up twice before we even left the place we were staying, and then I think he chucked up twice at Firestorm before the game, and was sort of debating bailing. But I definitely stuck with it. Good on him. So that's the best Cricks, and now we're on to second place. Is Wout with Trolls. It's the best Trolls. There's top 10 Trolls. Like that's something to write home about.
Trolls were doing well, man.
They were. So I've put the list in our chat in case I had to actually go and get my boy, but I didn't. So that's good. So Wout was playing. As my own pictures load. Just look at my pictures. Come on, someone save me that can see it.
Do you want me to run through it?
I've got it. Right. So Wout is running Madrak 3 in Band of Heroes. So obviously doesn't then have to worry so much about the mirror match with a Rune Bearer, a Dire Troll Bomber, a Pyre Troll and a Storm Troll, 2 Falcor healers, heroes, a Stone Scribe Chronicler, 2 of those, Des and Gubbin, Max Champions with Scaldi, Max Fenblades with the UA, Max Fenblades with the UA, Creel Warriors with 2 Caber Throwers. So he absolutely has gone for like the sort of package that we were talking about.
This is exactly what we expect.
This is like the sweet spot. And his off list, I say his off list, I think he played this more. I'm not sure how many times he played Madrak, but he definitely played Colgrimmer a lot, which was Colgrimmer in Storm of the North with a Rune Bearer, a Pyre Troll, 2 Earthborn Dire Trolls, Valka, Boomy 3, a Death Archon, Madrak 0 with a Brawler, a Min Creelstone with a Northkin Elder, 2 lots of Battle Bears, and 2 lots of Fire Eaters. And Ant, thanks for the Prime subscription, buddy. Thank you. Don't forget you can use that, and you ignore all the adverts. But anyway, yeah, what a pairing. I think this is like beast.
And I think it's worth noting that this Colgrimmer list here is, in the right hands, this is an amazing list, but nobody kind of wants to say it about a troll list, but this is a finesse list.
I think so. It's got a lot of tools.
You pick one target, you make sure that target dies, you achieve 1 or 2 things in a turn, and you deny the rest. It's a really tight game.
Yeah, it's a really, really control-heavy list between what it can do. It's forcing people into the centre of the table because of the Battle Bears, which is what Colgrimmer wants, because you can then stick down clouds and deny more line of sight. Even if you're ignoring the line of sight, you can put down the clouds where you're going to have to land to get any work done, because if you're not immune to cold, it'll still give you -2 to hit, which is cool. And then the Earthborn Dire Trolls are just like absolute beast brick sort of material, where they're just going to be incredibly hard to remove. And basically he just goes in and he's got like all these pushes and throws and all these little things that add up basically to control.
Such a technical list. I mean, you look here, like the 2 Earthborns, they power 15. He doesn't have a lot. He can use the Pyre Troll to push him to 17. Like, not much better than that. There isn't a lot you can do to push that damage up. So it's really, you have to focus everything everything you can at the 1 or 2 things to kill each turn.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's such a technical list to play.
So this is obviously so Wout has come second. So this is the list that was played in the finals against Rob, who will go over his list in a minute. So if you want to watch this is I have already recorded a BatRep version of this. So it's sped up twice speed, and I'm just commentating over it. So that'll probably go up over this weekend or start of next week. So definitely check it out. It's a really cool game to watch. And it's very close, and you can see how well Wout pilots it, to the fact that he nearly just shuts down Rob's game and just went nearly just takes it on scenario. It's really good. And then obviously Madrak is Madrak, but in a way where he's taken everything that we've already talked about that we would want to take in the Madrak list. So he's got the Creel Warriors with the Cabers to make sure that he's got Carapace to hand out. He's got the double Fen Blades, so he's got the threat range and the number of bodies, and then he's got things like...
He's got the champions, which I prefer heroes. To the Tuffalos.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's got the Felcor.
I prefer the Tuffalos to the champs.
Do you?
Either way.
Yeah, the only interesting flex here is Desengubben.
Yeah, I think
it's a good solo.
Yeah, I think he's really good. Yeah.
They're a really good solo. Do they belong in the list?
They don't. It doesn't matter. They're good enough that
they're good enough. You know what else they do? This was something. One of the Americans, Harrison, pointed out to me. Which is a fantastic little psychological trick. Desengubben have such a long threat range that on turns when you know you shouldn't do anything, but you just really want to kill something and you get tempted to overstretch, Desengubben let you throw something into the middle of their lines and then do the safe stuff for the rest of your army. They're a lovely little psychological way to stop you overreaching. I do like them.
As in they make your opponent stop from overreaching and going for plays they might otherwise go for.
Well, no, not really. I mean, if you can't stay out of their range, so you just need to go forward. But for yourself, like, you've got a turn 2, you're going second, and you should actually play quite defensive. But yeah, there's something you can shoot, and it's tempting to just start stretching a bit too far when you really shouldn't. they let you throw a bit of dice and be safe without kind of
And that's
haunting
they
yourself
can just,
into it.
Some games they just casually just fuck over someone's support models that like are really important, and like they're just gone. Yeah, I think
and you feel, and then you feel you've accomplished something, and you can play your turn safe.
Yeah, I think Des and Gavin are one of those Riot Quest Merc models that you can just take them no matter who you've brought, and they'll always do something in the list which is worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a good option. But yeah, I quite like the champs as like that core brick, and I think they're cheaper to take than the Tuffalos, I think. But yeah. Well, I think definitely Colgrim, I believe, was Wout's sort of primary list, was his main list there.
It definitely seemed like his comfort pick.
So let's talk briefly about list psychology. Right? Do you do this? Right. So I do exactly what Wout's done. So if Wout's primary list he wants to play into most games, stick it down as your list number 2 on your sheet. Just say it, right? People look at lists, and there is a thing where people will like go, "Oh, you're leading with number 1. That's your main list."
Oh.
like there is an element of it. I kid you not.
No.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I'll do, and I think this is even worse than that. So I'm looking at Rob's list, ready for us to go to that in a moment. What he's got in his card shelf list is 2 Marauders, 3 Juggernauts, and he's written it Marauder, Juggernaut. And I would write it Juggernaut, Marauder, Marauder. Mix it up a little bit. just make it slightly more awkward for your opponent to understand what's going on.
That's another level of
God damn.
That's another level of psychological warfare in the pre-game set. Right, so we've talked about Wout's list. Let's talk about him. Obviously, we had Rob on. If you haven't listened, go and listen to the.
So again, one more thing on Wout. Most unlucky player at the Welsh, because in the past 2 Welsh tournaments, he's won 13 out of 14 games and not won a Welsh.
Yeah.
It's just so unfortunate the way it's not quite worked out for him.
That is just... Yeah, I do feel for him. Yeah, that's really rough.
It is rough. Sable is me. I'm Dan. That's Evan, who's also on camera, and Ben is skulking, probably naked, just in his living room, off camera, something like that. Yeah, he's painting minion models with his feet or something like that, and just doesn't want us to
building Marvel Crisis protocols. That's what I'm doing.
There we go.
He's in a pink bunny suit, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
But yeah, so obviously Wout is a quality player. So I believe he's been on the Belgian WTC team since 1972. So yeah, definitely.
All right, he's been terrorizing people for a while.
Yeah, he's a really
I played him. It was horrible.
Quality player. So let's end with Rob. So as I said, if you haven't watched the post Welsh show, we have Rob on where we talk about all of his games. So go and check that out if you haven't. It's episode.
Should watch that, you know, actually.
Where are we? We are.
There he is. So he has got in Jaws of the Wolf, surprising nobody, and he has shown him the appropriate amount of respect. He's even called him K2D2, with an adjunct, 2 Marauders, and 3 Juggernauts, and then Rob's flex here, Behemoth.
Yeah.
So it's a really expensive buy considering what Karchev does. He obviously did incredibly well with him, and he made a very good case for him on the cast.
Yeah.
And then I can't read what's under that.
Sorcerer 0 with a Rager.
Oh, is that Sorcerer 0 with a Rager? Of
and
course.
Then two units of Eliminators and a Death Archon. And then the other scary list, which is equally as scary, if you can't deal with it, you can't deal with it, is Zakova 2 in Wolves of Winter with an adjunct, a Decimator and a Destroyer, so 2 ranged jacks, and then 2 max unit of Greylord Outriders, 3 units of Greylord Turnians, which are for free, a Thamrite Archon, a Thamrite Advocate, a Void Archon, 2 Colden Lords, and then Iana and Holt with Valachev. And yeah, obviously,
Decimator's an interesting choice. I wish he was here to ask him about that.
You should listen to the cast that we did with him that you were on.
I was, but we didn't ask him about. We didn't press him about that. I'm really curious about that choice now.
So he takes the two jacks basically. One of them's got just a random knockdown gun, and the other one is just like a long range gun, and they're basically there to just contribute every turn without having to throw the jacks in. So you can stick them in the zone.
At the end of the day, yeah. What's the point in a melee jack in this list? Yeah. The list doesn't want to play that close to anything at any point.
The reason the Decimator jumped out at me now is the fact that it's only range 10. And on a speed 4 jack, like I've got a lot of melee beasts that threat further than that walk and shoot range.
Yeah, but nothing that will be alive though. Right. So he runs it into the zone, so he's going to start scoring, and then it basically just stays there or shoots objectives.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have to think a lot about the battle group. Maybe the only thing I'd consider changing would be taking like a clamjack, just so you can put something further forward and not care and go. You're not going to kill it without like a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's neither here nor there, frankly.
Yeah. Whereas obviously, the threat I think against his heavies doesn't matter because they're just back shooting, and
you can throw a stalker and kill a decimator, and he doesn't really give a shit.
Oh no! More to the point is the rest of his army is in front of it, so you've got to get through his army to get to it, and
if you get into the decimator, you've already won.
You've already won, basically. Yeah. Because you'll have already killed 20 fucking...
I'm not seeing much of a front line. It's just going to run at your feet and spray the living tar out of you.
Yes, but if you can't survive it, then...
It is more subtle than that. It is a good list.
Oh, it definitely is more subtle, yeah. Stuff like, if you've bought... if you listen to the cast where we go through the games, if you brought an infantry
you did talk it through a lot more.
Yeah, stuff like if you brought an infantry list, then prepare to have, to either space them the hell out or have entire units stationary while he continues to spray and then go backwards and go, none of your stuff can still get to me. I've now killed half your army and I still haven't feated. And it's
and the Samurai Darkon is just a nasty little addition to all of that bullshit.
Samurai and the Void and the Samurai Advocate as well just basically gives free focus to Kova.
Yeah.
Like, casually.
What you should do, Evan, is you should go to the Chaos Spawn Podcast YouTube channel and watch the round 2 game where Rob plays this list against Crucible Guard, and it's bloody
Actually,
brilliant.
I must do that.
Yeah, you should do that. Everyone should do
some
that.
painting. That's a good idea.
Elliot's list, so it's an Ass Mountain list, but with Lucas at the helm rather than Baldwin, and it's brutal to see how much he gets done without even bothering feating. It shows just how much
I think I'm going to take some time to do that. That sounds like a good call.
And it's only like 15 minutes as well to watch. Just saying. All the new that's the good thing as well. All the new ones I'm recording are like 50 minutes to an hour to like whiz through the watching a game.
That's actually a nice consumable piece.
Exactly.
Painting session, isn't it?
Yeah. Just spend your lunchtime in it and easy peasy. So there we go. So that is the lists from the Welsh Masters finally out there in the wild. I've got more. We could give you some more lists, but it's all the scrubs that didn't come in the top 10, like me, and the other 80 of us or however many it was. But no, it was really cool. I think it just shows that there are definitely players that are putting some innovation into their list, some planes of thought.
Yeah.
There's like these differences because we saw three Madrak lists in the top 10. None of them remotely the same.
I mean, they are all a bit the same.
Well, a little bit, but only a little bit the same. They've got
They're
Madrak 3.
pretty close.
They were, right? So
Madrak with everyone's putting their
own twist on it. Yeah, exactly. People are exploring, are testing. People are obviously putting time in again to the game, and it's showing, which is really cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So with that done, any
top
thoughts
10,
about
how many factions did we have in the top 10?
How many factions? Cador, Crix, Circle, Legion, Minions, and then Grimkin and Trolls. So 7 factions in the top 10.
7
three,
in top.
three
Yeah,
three
that's a
trolls,
good spread as
three
well.
trolls, 2 grim.
Six and a half if you count Jamie as half trolls.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
As long as VOD exists, you're not going to let this go, are you?
Really not. But I play it, so I'm part of the problem.
And then let's whiz through the next lot. So 11th was Circle, then Legion, then Ret, then Menoth. So the top Menoth, if you were playing a Menoth player and you've listened to everyone shit on them for ages, Menoth came 14th. So that's the top, the 2 players. One of them came
But the
14th,
person
so.
who's been shitting on them for ages is Paul Sheard, who came 14th.
Just tricky.
So well, I can. It's obviously I travel down with Paul and spend a lot of time with Paul. He's one of my closest friends again. So what he did, and this is his result. I put down in almost the same field as a lot of the Grimkin results, doing really well because Paul brought Harvey, and everyone's forgotten how that worked.
How? Everyone should have PTSD from Harvey by now.
But it's been so long. It's been such a long time.
Yeah.
Everyone's taken their grievous wounds out of the list. It's rubbish. And so he played Harvey a lot of it and got a lot of good results with Harvey in that, because there are a lot of things that, like, imagine Madrak 3 trying to play into Harvey. It'd just be a disaster for him.
Oh, God, they deserve each other. I just want to. I don't even want to watch the game. I just want cameras on the players' faces because they fucking deserve each other.
Paul would just smile. He feeds. Madrak 3 can't do anything. And then when Madrak 3 gets in, everything's at -2 to hit and it just misses all the time.
Uh-huh.
On one is 4, right? Between Ash and Vale and... yeah, pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've definitely had a discussion where one of our team was thinking about what, in fact, use this event to work out if they wanted to stick with Menoth, and we talked about them being a dark horse faction because no one's playing them.
They are now. Certainly.
That's cool. Right, well,
And then-
I think we're coming up to the 2-hour mark, so I think we're pretty much done. We've covered a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of lists. We've given you some stats to chew through. We've given you some hope that Warmachine is definitely fucking thriving over here. And there's a lot of people excited.
Yes.
There's a lot of people excited about the WTC. I know that the team behind it are out there looking for like the right people to stream and to commentate on games, which will be super cool. I imagine that hopefully we'll get some announcement of that soon. But thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, Ben, as usual, buddy. It's good to see you both.
Oh, fantastic!
Good to chat to you, and so we'll hopefully see people at some events soon. So there's a bunch of things coming up in the Midlands, and in Cardiff and in London. And I think Leeds is this weekend, so it's really cool to see events.
And the Northwest match is doing really well at the moment. It's awesome up here.
Yeah, that's proper cool.
Great.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Good to see. But yeah, so thanks for joining. Don't forget to subscribe and feed all them social media gods that make it somewhat bearable to do.
Thank you, Andy.
And I'm cracking. I will see you guys later. Good night.
Yeah.
Night, folks.